All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we got a video today. Anthony Smith is back, you guys. But not just myself and Anthony. So this video right here, I know a lot of people have heard a lot about the Marshall and New coin offering. They're paying a bunch of fighters. They gave, I think they've given like, I think their project themselves has given like 35 grand to Cain Velasquez's family, which is one of the primary reasons that I was drawn to these guys. They paid a ton of fighters, a ton of money, and that is their stated purpose for existing. Now, the nature of these projects, right? Like the nature of these coin projects is a coin is as reliable as the people that are behind it. It's just that simple. That is the way that it works. And since I had talked about them, Anthony Smith also had talked about them, we were like, why don't we bring you guys on the channel and we'll ask you all the questions that Dunskies like us would answer, or would ask. Because I know you guys know I've had this NFT thing going with Navy. I don't know. I am not like a seasoned crypto investor. I own some Ethereum. I have some Bitcoin. That's it, before this. And so we brought them on and we tried to ask them hard questions. And I'll be honest with you, I'm the most skeptical person on earth, man. I don't trust anybody. And as Anthony Smith points out in this video, because I said that at the end of the video, I was like, listen, man, I'm gonna be straight. I assume everybody's trying to scam me all the time. And every single time that we've talked to you guys or asked you guys questions, you guys have had great answers. And now having met you guys in person, you've made me feel really good about the project and about you guys. And because I'm an incredibly skeptical person. And Anthony's like, keep in mind, you guys, he's the one that thought Masvidal and Colby was a fake beef. And I was like, I still do, son. But anyway, yeah. So if I'm that skeptical about humanity and I like these guys, that's a good sign, or a bad sign. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'm crazy. But either way, you guys can watch the conversation. If you're considering investing in Marshall and New, I'll have the information in the description. But obviously, this should just be a data point that you use to make your own decision. That's just what these things are. These are marketing projects. And if you believe in the cause, then get into it. Especially, if you think the cause is going to resonate with other people. And I think fighter pay is a great cause and they are walking the walk thus far. So enjoy it. These guys are also big MMA fans. So there's a lot of MMA talk here too. So enjoy.
Like for all extensive purposes, me and B Roots are just concerned investors, at the end of the day. Like I'm not part of the team. I didn't create this coin. I have nothing to do with that. I'm somebody that's super passionate about MMA and always have been. And you can ask me questions. I'll go toe to toe with anybody. But, legitimately, I'm somebody that enjoys participating in combat sports. I enjoy watching it. And I've always felt that the fighters need to get paid more. Yeah. Especially during COVID. Anthony fought Glover. And it was like life-changing for us because we were going through a dark time. And, to get some sense of normalcy, at the same time, I'm thinking, wow, like fucking Dana put it together. He did this shit. Yeah. But also these guys are leaving their families during this quote unquote pandemic. And what are they making? This is the time for them to fucking form a union, go on strike, whatever, because they'll never have more leverage than they do at that current moment, and obviously that didn't happen, but just as much as I wanted to watch and was excited and loved every moment of it, at the same time, I was the person, I put out a tweet that day. I'm like, I can't wait to watch this, but part of me wishes they would just say, fuck this, we're going on strike. You got to pay us more.
Let me ask you this. Why do you think that they were better positioned to organize during the pandemic than any other time?
Because it was the only game in town. They would Dana knew this was his moment to really burst onto the scene and, position himself to compete with boxing as well as, football. This is becoming, I could see MMA becoming the biggest sport in America at some point. Like maybe not bigger than football, but it can start to really get in there with baseball and basketball. For sure. As a real mainstream sport. And the fact that everybody's stuck in their house, not watching any sports. And now everybody, the only thing they can watch is MMA. And I know the sport is awesome because I've watched so many people get turned on to it that it's like, all right, now all these people are going to watch it. I'm pretty sure Dana knew that as well. And if you look at the ratings and the numbers from they're doing really well. So at that point in time, if the fighters were to say, take a stand, hey, we love it, we want to do it, but we need to make more money. We're not asking for, anything crazy. but a little bit from you would go a long way for us. And we can't do this. We're not leaving our families during a pandemic unless whatever. I don't know. I'm not a union organizer, but just from a logic perspective, that seemed to be the moment that they had the most leverage that they've ever had.
So here's what I would say to that. So you guys being a project where your core purpose for existing is increasing compensation for fighters, it's good to hear that you're passionate about that issue. As it relates to that particular example, what I would say is, like, if you look at the details of how that played out, I would say that Dana's motivation had a lot more to do with not having to lay people off than it did with capitalizing on the disaster. And the reason I say that is because if you want to get a good gauge for the business of mixed martial arts and UFC in general, it's good. A good thing you can always use as a barometer is just look at what they're doing with Conor. They would not give Conor a fight during the pandemic. And there's only one reason that would be the case, is that they were making so much less money that they can't fucking afford it. Like in terms of like when you pull the crowds out of there, because like when if Dana's talking about a specific negotiation, I always listen through the ear of he's playing ball, like he's strategizing. If he thinks that there's a benefit in undermining a certain person's representation to get a better deal with that person, he'll do that shit all day long. But like when he says something like his motivation through the pandemic was to make sure that he didn't have to fire anyone, I believe him when he said that about that, just in that particular. I agree with everything that you're saying in terms of like what it would take to make a really kind of tectonic shift in the way that people are compensated. I totally agree with that. That's why projects like yours, I mean, like any crypto project is gonna, there's gonna be a phase where you start and you're gonna see where it goes, and no one can know exactly where something's gonna go. But if this thing has legs to where it's around in 4 years, I think you guys can make a tremendous impact on what fighters do annually.
Yeah.
You agree with that, Anthony?
Yeah. I see where both you guys are coming from. I think that most of us as fighters were just happy to be working. When not a lot of people were. Listen, if I was in the NFL or I was a Major League Baseball player, I probably couldn't have cared less if I played or didn't play, because like those guys have the income to sit and chill for a year if they have to. There's not a lot of fighters that can do that. So I definitely am kind of like, I was fortunate that I still had a job. At the end of the day, though, the reason I was drawn and have been drawn to this entire project is like seeing guys like Bobby Green get extra money. Like Bobby Green is a guy that like I hold that dude's like a brother to me. Like I hold him so close to my heart. But we came up in Strikeforce together. Like he has been unapologetically himself since I've known him, and we were in our early 20s then, like maybe 20. And that dude, he puts his heart and soul into this thing. And excuse me, he's just never been the guy that's ever got the big old fat checks. He's a little bit inconsistent. He just hasn't got the, like, sometimes the shoe just falls the right way for some guys, and it just hasn't for Bobby Green yet. So like seeing guys like that supported, that I know deep down is just a good dude that grinds and treats people right, and just hasn't had the opportunity to make money. Like seeing guys like that supported by people that he doesn't even know. That's what drew me to it from the very beginning. Once I got past kind of the skeptical part, like I don't know. I think I said yesterday, like most of us don't come from super educated backgrounds. I didn't know shit about shit when it came to crypto. Like I had a lot of friends that say, hey man, you play around in crypto. Like it's so confusing, and the terminology and how it works and the programs and the websites and the names, it's terrifying because you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And then you're talking to a bunch of people that not only are we not like the most financially, technologically like educated people, but then we also don't have most fighters don't have a whole bunch of money to play around with to risk losing if you end up in a shit coin and you don't know what the hell you're doing. Like that's like when I got on the phone with KJ and he walked me through this whole process, there's no way I would have figured that out on my own. There's just no way. I bought some yesterday and still had to call him, and he had to walk me through it. It's like the 5th time. Like, it's just not an easy process to go through. So I just, that alone is like what got me, I guess, supporting it. And then the support for Kane, and it's just a really odd thing in the sport. And I think that's going to be the one hurdle that's going to be hard to get over is MMA fighters are not used to people going out of their way to help us. And we kind of cannibalize ourselves sometimes too. Like, we even step on each other. So I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle. Like, we can talk about the money and all the other stuff. It's getting the real voice of the movement of the project out there, and just having people trust you. That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, it's not even just that on that side with the UFC and the fighters, it's actually on the crypto side too. So we actually see it coming from both sides. You're seeing it from the UFC fight side where you're saying, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. There's people saying, I don't trust it. I don't know what to expect of it. But even on the crypto side, it's like, you're a scam. You're just trying to take over and take advantage of these guys. You're only in it for yourselves. You're in it for the money. So we got it coming from both angles, where it's like, no, we're changing the game. This is what crypto is actually pretty much invented for you able to give payments to people you appreciate, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, whether it's, superstars like yourself. We're able to do that, and that's what we're all about. And that has been just for the last, I would say, 8 years within crypto, that has been taken away, and there has been a bunch of scams and whatnot. But then when you see something real like Marshall and New come through, it's just not the norm. And that's why I say I believe we're changing the game, just because we're doing something that benefits people, and it's not the norm within crypto.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'm looking for things to, like, when people are asking me questions, like, how do I answer that question correctly in a way that's going to be beneficial to MRI, right? So, and the other people that it's going to benefit. So if you're looking at the crypto coins that have scammed people or whatever, like the rugs, what is different? Like, how do you see the difference? Like, what can you look to show, like, what is the difference between MRI and those other in the other frauds?
So
Can I say something on that really quick?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was going to say is, like, the reason, like, because one of the main reasons, to Anthony's point, when you guys help Kane's family in a material way that I can validate for sure you guys did, I'm like, okay, that's just, I mean, that's a big test passed. And when it comes to these different projects, ultimately, there's not going to be a huge difference from a technology standpoint most of the time. Like, when it's like, okay, Ethereum is moving to Ethereum, whatever, faster, whatever, more bandwidth. But most of these, like, meme coins, the difference is simple, is who's behind the coin, like who's doing it, like who are the people. That's why I was like, okay, if I promoted this on the channel, I put it out there, I put the links in my things. What I'm going to do, I have no control over this other than what I put out. So it's like, I'm going to platform you guys so that people understand who's behind the coin. Because in my opinion, that's the only difference is, from coin to coin.
But you got to speak to dumb fighters, though. You got to speak, because the fighters are going to be the ones that are going to bring the attention to it. At least in my mind, I don't actually know. This is how I look at it. Like, the fighters bring the attention to it. And then the people that want to support the fighters are going to be the ones that are doing probably most of the buying. So, like, how do you, like, if you just have a dumb fighter, like, how do you change their mind? How do you prove it? You know what I mean?
prove.
So,
Okay,
I guess-
so what Anthony, basically how Anthony is talking about how he was skeptical in the beginning, it's pretty funny because we went back to old DMs where I tried to turn you on to MRI, and you said, you you didn't respond, which I understand because you probably get a ton of messages like that, which 99% of which are scams.
Mhm.
And when I first got into the project, I was also skeptical, right? Like I just heard it was a meme coin that had something to do with MMA. I'm like, all right, I'm in. I love MMA. I think meme coins are cool. So I'm in. But long story short, within 3 days, they had $1 million in their marketing wallet. And if you don't spend that money as a dev, I'm sure Bryce can talk about this, but this was something like I started to get really involved. I'm like, hey, you have a UFC coming up in 2 days, it's 3 days in, you have $1 million in that wallet. If you don't get that money to the fighters, people are going to be calling it a scam. They're going to say, well, what are you doing with this money? And the problem was the fighters weren't responding because they thought it was a scam. So from my perspective, I took it into kind of my own hands where I'm like, hey, I can help however I can. I'm going to put in the effort and I'll just DM everybody, everybody on the card. I found their Instagram. I start DMing people. Nobody answers. So then in this room, I'm recording a video of me talking now, the same message, but say, please watch this video. Just take 30 seconds. I'm trying to give you money, and at the same time, I'm talking to Bryce saying, look, you got $1 million in there. There's 30 fighters on the card. In my opinion, you should pledge $10,000 to each fighter. No strings attached. Let's send them the money. Worst case scenario, it's 300K. You still have 700 after 3 days. And that way you prove you went above and beyond. 10,000 is enough where somebody's going to say, hey, maybe I'm interested in this. And, once you start to send the money and they realize it's real, who doesn't want an extra 10,000? So the person who responded first was Bobby Green. And his response was, you have my attention,
Oh, man.
I said, he goes, you have my attention. And I said, listen, these guys have $10,000 in Ethereum. I'm not sure if you know anything about crypto. He said, I don't. Call me. And he sends me his phone number. And I'm like, here, I'm this huge fan who just got into this coin. Next thing I know, I'm on the phone with Bobby Green, teaching him how to download a crypto wallet. They send them the money. And like, hey, if you tell the other guys, that this is real, we would be so appreciative. And that kind of started the ball rolling. But at that moment when I was in and there was $1 million sitting in the wallet and none of the fighters had any money yet, I was also skeptical. Like, I don't know if this is real, but I think like we're lucky that Bryce has been like such a stand-up guy. You know what I'm saying? Like he's walked the walk time and time again. I think over $2 million sent out. They've always done the right thing by fighters. And I feel like the people that are calling it a scam or whatever, like, they expect that there should be no return. We should just send out $2 million and just like put it in charity. But the whole point is you want attention. Like if I get into a cryptocurrency and they're not doing marketing, guess what? I'm selling that shit. I don't want to be in it because a cryptocurrency like that can go down for 2 years straight because they'll be like, hey, we're just focusing on building. We're not going to pay for marketing now. Okay, well, I'm out. I'll wait until you start focusing on marketing because then it'll go up. But in the meantime, I want to be with something that's going to get the attention of people. And, I saw that like, okay, if they're actually able to get the fighters the money, the fighters are going to love this. Number one, it's going to help a lot of people and it's going to bring a lot of attention. So I was sold right away. And then as the project develops, more and more stuff starts to come out where it's like, after that conversation with Bobby, I'm like, I can help these guys learn more about crypto. And, that's why I had like conversations with Anthony. It's like my greatest honor to talk to like some of my heroes, in the MMA world and kind of help them get involved in crypto on a higher level than they would like just trying to learn on their own. So that's,
Okay. So then
You're doing a good job selling me more.
dude, I'm telling you, these are the conversations I have with these guys all the time.
Korean Jew, so.
So if we're talking to just, dumbasses like myself, people are going to like, I think one of the first questions that you hear with people are like, well, how does that work? Like, I think to you guys, it's just a normal thing. And I'm sure that you don't even think that it's probably doesn't even need to be explained. But I think to most of us, it doesn't make any sense. Like, where does the money come from? How does that work? Like, why would anybody be willing to give us money? Like, where does that money come from? And then, because I don't think any of us fighters care. Like, if you guys are paying fighters, but you're also making money, I don't see, like, that's just how the world works. You know what I mean? Like, that's just good business, and I don't think anybody needs to apologize for that. But I think the outward perception is that these guys are just paying fighters and then not talking about themselves making money. So like these guys are just giving them money. That doesn't make any sense. That's, you know, that's a scam. They're going to fuck someone somehow. I think talking about how that process works was really interesting to me because I didn't know how it worked. And once I understood it, I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense. So I think if you guys explained it in a way that's not dumb fighter language, I think that would probably help a lot.
I'd like to be Roots. Bryce,
Yeah,
you guys want to take a
that's
crack at it?
the best way to really explain it in a very simple way is within cryptocurrency, there's always a transaction fee that is built inside Ethereum. No matter what, we pay a fee. As a crypto investor, I am used to paying fees. I've paid tens of thousands of dollars in fees last year. Just, you know, you deduct that from your taxes. I'm just used to paying fees. When this cryptocurrency came out, it said you have to pay an extra fee, but that fee is going to go into a marketing wallet. This marketing wallet is used for the payments to the fighters. So to something, my point, I'm like, well, I'm used to fees anyway. It's nothing new. It's just an additional 10% fee on what I usually pay. And that's it. When you take it out and you buy your MRI token, you get an allotment minus the fee that you pay for the gas fee, which is the transact, but also the fee that goes into the crypto wallet, that goes into the Marshall Inu wallet. So that wallet is handled by the team, and that's when they give out the payments to the fighters. In simple, that's all it is. It can go a whole lot technical on where that money, like how that transaction, how it splits up. But in simple, we've got two fees that we have to pay: a transaction fee, which is to the Ethereum miners, and then a fee to Marshall Inu, which goes to their marketing wallet.
And
Is that on both sides?
Yeah.
Is that for the
Buyers
buyer and
and
seller?
When you sell, yes, when you buy and you sell, there is a fee.
Yeah, let me add a layer to that really quick, just because I'm going to take it back even, you know, more high level, where like, I remember the first time that I heard someone explain crypto where I understood it. And I can literally explain it. A unit of payment for anything has value because people accept that it has value. A dollar is a piece of paper. It only has value because everyone has agreed that it has value. There's nothing inherently valuable about that. Gold, even, people always default back to, they're like, well, gold has value. Why? Can you fucking eat gold? Like, can you build a house out of gold? No, it has value because people agree that it has value. Cryptocurrency is a digital unit that has value because people have collectively agreed that it has value. There are a million different cryptocurrencies, which are just, you know, kind of cloned versions of what is ultimately like a block of whatever cryptocurrency. And the reason why the price goes up is because, unlike regular currency, where, you know, you hear the government talk about they're gonna, you know, oh, we're gonna, you know, spend another $1 trillion. Okay, well, they just create that $1 trillion out of thin air, which means it goes into the overall money supply and it devalues the dollars that exist. Cryptocurrency, in most cases, not all, but like Bitcoin, Ethereum, there is a set amount of each one. There are only so many Bitcoins. There will never be more than that. And so the more people who want to buy Bitcoin, the price of each Bitcoin goes up. It's as simple as that. It's supply and demand. It's digital supply and demand. And so like the underlying value exists in the most basic economic function that exists on earth, which is supply, demand. And does Inu, it's a limited supply, or can you create?
Yeah.
It's
So
actually
I can actually-
deflationary, right?
It's deflationary.
Yes, it is.
Okay. You guys, how about you guys explain that? I know what that
Yeah.
means.
So
My fucking head's
I'm
gonna
more than
explode.
happy to elaborate. But yeah, so our token itself is built into the contract that I and the rest of the team worked on, but it's deflationary in the sense that it has an auto mechanism where a certain percentage of the supply is burnt. Now, as Jesse was talking about, there is in theory, there's 100% circulating supply. To make it deflationary, there's a function where it auto eliminates MRI tokens as transactions go through on. So as of right now, and last time I checked on Etherscan, our burn wallet is up to 7%. So that means 7% of the 100% circulating supply has been burned into its entirety. And so that will never be brought back into existence. So thus making the token itself more valuable because there is less of it circulating in that sense.
Yep. Yeah. I've heard of that as well. And like, so yeah, I mean, ultimately the world is moving into I mean, now I'm just talking about just the first time that I understood that concept. There will never be more than this number of Bitcoin. And as more and more people adopt cryptocurrency, the more valuable it'll become. That's why when people say like, dude, 1 Bitcoin may end up being worth, $1 million. And it sounds ludicrous, but it's not. And each of these cryptocurrencies has its own function. And thus, that's why all of this makes sense. Where, I mean, like, again, I sound like
because it's similar to looking at houses, for instance. Like our parents, they might have looked at their house and it was 50,000, and now that house might be $1 million. And back then they would have thought, $1 million for this house, it couldn't be. But you fast forward decades forward, and you look at the devaluation of the dollar and what the dollar's worth. It has as much to do with Bitcoin itself and the popularity as it does to the fact that the dollar is continuing to be devalued. Right. And when you talk about scams in crypto, a lot of people that are kind of on the outside looking in may have dabbled a little bit. The reality is, when the most people, like retail people, normal people, are buying, that's called like the volume climax, meaning you'll see the most amount of cryptocurrency has been exchanged on a specific day. And that happens to be the day that the most normal people bought, and then it ends up being the top. So that's kind of like what happens when everybody is doing it. You don't really want to be doing that. And it's something you can see from a volume perspective. So everybody that bought Bitcoin in 2017 at 20K, that was when the most people had ever bought Bitcoin ever had bought at a very high price. And now it has to go down. So when it goes down, these people sell and then they say, oh, I got scammed. But it's no different than any other market, frankly, because I could pull up a chart of Bitcoin and I could pull up a chart of gold from 1970 and show it to the greatest trader in the world. If I didn't label it, they wouldn't know what it was, because every single chart looks the same. It's just human behavior and price and trading. There's a guy that might have bought Facebook's 3-4 months ago. Facebook dumped like horribly. It feels like, hey, I got scammed too. If you're buying something that's going straight up, there's always risk of it, going back against you. Like, for instance, with Marshall Inu, it went up to 5 cents and it went back to 1.5 cents, and then it went to 20 cents. The people who bought it 5, when it went to 1.5, they thought it was a scam too. At the end of the day, it's just a speculator's market, and people are speculating on the coin being more expensive in the future than it is now. Nobody's forcing anybody to invest, but one of the things that I've discussed with the team is I think they've already done a good job proving that they're fighting for fighters with the stuff that they're doing. There's enough documented that, I feel very good about what they've done and will continue to do. But I feel like also, especially for people that may be like hesitant to get into cryptocurrency, I feel like it's time for them to also kind of start fighting for the people that are investing in it, or buying it rather. I don't know about investing, if that's kosher to say, but and they're starting to develop different things to incentivize people that are holding this token. So it's not just, hey, I'm hoping it goes up so I can sell to a bigger dummy than me. It's like, hey, I hold this token and I get to, do this and that and that. And I don't know if that's something Bryce wants to talk about, but I think that's crucial to the growth of where this goes.
Utility.
Not even
Okay, well,
utility, it becomes community, and that's the whole UFC community. That's really the goal in general. Like, we have this community of people who enjoy watching the UFC, and then you also have a community of those people who just enjoy trading crypto. But you're also bringing in the community of the UFC fans and the UFC fighters, and you're literally bringing it all into one. And, you can say it's all about the coin, but in reality, it's about the community and the community that we are in. and we're bringing it all together for one cause. So a lot of people like to say it's a meme coin, but I've been saying it since day one. I look at it as a community coin because it's bringing people from different aspects of the same liking together. Like
Yeah,
we
just
wouldn't be,
Was
we wouldn't have
this
been
the plan the whole time? Like this direction that the whole kind of movement and project is going? Was that the plan the entire time?
So I can actually talk on that. Originally, when we started, again, we launched during, I want to say, meme season. In February, dog coins were very popular, but I think the biggest thing we were trying to focus on is showing that we're different from everything else. Now, again, we were also at the time trying to attract a lot more attention. So we're like, what better way than to get to Joe Rogan at the time than to reach out to some of the fighters and stuff that work with him on his UFC broadcast and stuff like that. And again, this is in part thanks to KG and a lot of the other advisors and team members we have. But we were like, yeah, let's go full blown for UFC 271. We
you
reached out
swung
to
for the
fighters.
fences, huh? Rogan out of the
Yeah,
gate.
I
we
said,
did. Yeah,
momentum. This was peak
and
Joe Rogan canceled because he wasn't at 271. So the whole concept was like, imagine the fighters thanking Joe's dog while Joe isn't there and like kind of giving Joe a shout out, like a nod to Joe. And,
I was in the front row for that fight. That would have been fun. And for Bobby Green, dude.
Yeah.
yeah, and it was surreal to see it all come together because again, it was a snowball effect, as KJ said. We got Bobby Green, we got Fabio Sharon, and then he was able to get us like another 5 or 6 guys off of the 271 card, and then yeah, people started reaching out to us. And so again, I think the biggest thing we tried to focus on when it came to showing that we're legitimate is that we're like, yeah, we're going to pay you up front. Here's the money. Just send us your wallet address. If you could kindly give us a shout out and stuff and just bring awareness to us, that would be much appreciated. And then from there, that's where it really has led us to the success that we've had today.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
talked about the team. It does seem, again, I'm just thinking about this like from the outside. What I thought while at the very beginning when you guys had reached out to me and I think it started with Cameo, to be honest with you. I was like, what in the hell is this? I don't get it. It felt like a joke, to be honest with you. I thought I was getting had, but what like how many people are on the team? Like it seems very anonymous. It seems very, I don't know, secret. So like, I mean, there's got to be a reason and a process behind that. Like, how many are there, and how come no one knows who they are?
Okay, well, I'm more than happy to delve into that. So our core team of when we launched, we had about 6 to 7 guys. And then from there, because we've seen such tremendous growth, we've really added a lot over the last month and a half to a growing group of, I want to say 30 to 40 people,
Wow.
spread out throughout the world, mind you. Like I'm myself, I'm based out of like the New York area, but I have team members all the way from Australia to Singapore to Germany and the UK. And it's just been incredible for us to all come together to see that we're all passionate about the same thing.
Are you the founder, Bryce?
I'm one of the developers on the project, yes. Now, in terms of the anonymity, to answer your question, Anthony, nearly all meme coin projects have anonymous teams. This is due to multiple reasons, mainly due to safety precautions, just because the crypto space is very toxic and it can be a lot for people when you're just entering it. But yeah, to avoid different crypto related legal issues, depending on whichever country you're from, because every country does have different legislation regarding crypto.
Okay.
We've made it an effort not to publicly put us out there yet, but like, for example, when it comes to centralized exchanges, we've had to do KYC, which is also known as Know Your Customer, which is like present documents to show that we're legitimate entities, who we are, and to show that we are a legitimate brand. I want to say a company, but we're not filed as a company as of yet. But again, yeah, it's about showing that we're legitimate and we're a force to be reckoned with, frankly. So yeah.
Let me and then yeah, and I'll follow up on that really quick because I had something I would like just to tie a bow on the conversation earlier. Is like,
Hey
you know,
Jesse, I'm gonna have to kill my camera for a second. You're gonna have to edit that out, just so you know.
well, I didn't even see what happened.
No, I'm gonna have to. I'm killing it just for 1 second.
Oh, all right, yeah, it's fine. But yeah, like to me, it's like it seems as though at the end of the day, like the way that these things turn into bad outcomes is if the founders are just built, because ultimately it's like if everybody sells, then that's, you know, that's when the coins fall apart. And so like the founders have the ability to do that. And if they're good intentioned founders, then obviously they don't do that. Like that's kind of, you know, for me, seems like and at the same time, I understand why you guys would want to stay anonymous because in there, you know, there are circumstances that would be out of your control where, you know, the coin goes down and people who don't really understand how it works would want to find you and, you know, take their money back out of your, you know,
Crazy stuff
kidnap
happens,
or
man.
something.
No joke.
Mhm.
I mean, Satoshi is the founder of Bitcoin. We don't know who he is,
I
and
have a theory.
I'd like to hear it.
I think it's Brock Pierce. I think it's Brock Pierce and I think it's a group of people. I think Brock Pierce.
Group of people. I believe
Brock
it.
Pierce
Yeah.
from EOS, the guy from Mighty Ducks.
Mhm. Him and a number of people at the very least. Like,
I think it's the U.S. government, but
you think so?
probably.
I've
But
actually always thought that too.
it's a separate conversation. But
Yeah.
you know, we're you know, Satoshi is known to have a lot of Bitcoins too. And although that market is large, if he wanted to liquidate, it would certainly affect the price.
Yeah.
And people would say it's scam. But as far as like I'm aware, like Bryce, this was a free launch, correct? Meaning like
Mhm.
there was no pre-mine, which some people said, and you know, there were certain accusations thrown around. But can you clarify that?
Yeah. So we actually did what was called a fair launch. When we launched, I believe it was the second week of February, all the circulating supply was put on the market. There are no team tokens whatsoever. So I myself, for the tokens that I do hold, I purchased into it. I bought into the project, as well as almost every other supporter and investor of MRI, such as KJ and B Roots. Now, as well, again, when we launched, we were completely brand new. It is very high risk, high reward when you invest into a low cap project. But as people who do take those risks, it can pay off. And I'm sure a lot of people have been happy with the way that the token and the success of Marshall Inu has shown so far. But yeah, everything itself was launched completely fair. And everything you can see is on Etherscan, which is, for people who aren't aware, is a website where you can find all the information that is related to our contract and our project, with the marketing wallet, the developer wallet, the contract itself, where all the code and stuff is written. And if you want to familiarize yourself with that, you're welcome to do it. But everything is public.
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
like these coins are launching every day.
Yeah.
And when people claim the term rug pull, oh, this is a rug, it's going to be a rug pull. What happens is a dev will launch a coin. It'll have a funny name, flashy, attractive. And, you know, getting in early in the first minutes of something like Marshall Rogan Inu, if it does what Marshall did, you can make 7 figures, you know, in a month. Some people did. You can track the wallets. I saw a guy that sold about $1 million, and he might have put $500 in the first hour, and he held and held and held, and then he sold. But you know, these are launching all day, every day. But most of them, what happens is it'll go up a little bit, and then the dev who's a non is a scammer. He'll just take all the liquidity out of the market, and the token is worthless. You're not even. It's called like a honeypot. Basically, you're not allowed to sell it, and it's like shit. I got rugged. But that's the
Wait,
life we
there
chose.
are things where you can't sell it.
Yeah, they can change the code. So the dev he can turn off selling. And basically what happens is all the money that's put into the pool, he then takes.
That's super fucked up.
Yeah, it happens
Yeah.
all the time. I mean, this is the life we chose. And it's a calculated risk for somebody like me or B Roots, because the reward of if you get in early and the project app happens to be good and does something and the dev is good-hearted person and also, it ends up being a good project, you can make crazy, crazy money. So it's a calculated risk. Let's say I have $10,000 to invest with. I may take 10 shots, putting $500 in here, and I might get rugged on 8 of them. But if 2 of them hit, I made money, big money. So
this particular industry would be a fucking crazy one to come in and do a rug pull on, dude. It's like got a lot of violent fucking
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, for real.
And
That's also probably why
but-
Bryce isn't doxxed, just in case the price goes down. You know what?
Yeah, but like, yeah, to touch on that a little bit, like for example, what KJ was talking about, the liquidity pool. So our liquidity, and you can see it on Etherscan and it's all publicized, but our liquidity itself is locked. I believe it's locked for 6 months. And we're going to look to revisit to extending it to another year or so. But yeah, these are all there because it is all decentralized and there is no, I guess, there are a few overseers of it. It's hard to really judge it all. But there are certain measures in place to help protect investors, such as locking liquidity, such as having the coded stuff published on Etherscan, such as having
You have CertIC
influential
audits.
people.
There's auditing
Audits.
companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had 2 audits from Solidity and CertIC as well in reviewing our material and our code and stuff. And again, I know we've passed the Solidity one, the CertIC one is still in progress. But yeah, there's a lot of measures still in place to help protect investors so that people aren't just blatantly throwing their money around.
I do that.
That's probably what scares the people the most, is that they don't know how to necessarily do that. And through experience that comes, because I've been rugged a few times. So I understand that, hey, what did I do? Like, what did I do wrong? Because it's not necessarily like, yes, I got scammed, but I also want to know how do I avoid that the next time. So even as an investor, I see this Marshall Rogan, the name of it at the time pop up. Well, the first thing I do is I look for a website. Is this just a coin that gets launched? Is there a website? Did they even spend time to make a website on it? Yes, they did. Okay, now they have a Telegram. There's the devs, you got the admin in the Telegram, and I can actually speak to them. Then they throw out, the KYC. Well, if something does go wrong, I mean, I would hope that they would have some type of money. They ran with some money. But if that happens and they run away with the money, well, the KYC audit company actually gives that information out. So that's kind of a layer of protection for the investor. So it builds a little bit more confidence to say, okay, well, maybe it's getting a little bit more legit. It's just not some random coin that just pops up and you just throw your money into it. There are coins that you do that, and you add a lot of risk to that, but there are certain steps that you can take to try to eliminate that risk as much as possible.
Let me ask you guys this, because candidly, this is a good topic that I won't want to forget. So what exactly happened with Rogan? So like you guys, originally it was Marshall, Rogan, and New, and now it's Marshall and New. So like, what happened there?
So the biggest reason why we kind of dropped the Rogan part, I think a lot of people were interfusing the two. And while yes, we did start off being named after Marshall May, Joe Rogan's dog, we itself are a project entirely separate from him, and we want to disassociate from that idea of conflating the two. I think a lot of people were investing, again, some people, I think the one unique thing about our project is that we're more than just a meme. We have actual utility, and that is, one, not only to support the fighters, but to help them with their healthcare expenses, their training camps, and so on. So to help, I guess, provide more clarity for a lot of investors, we wanted to show that, you know, we are an independent brand, we are an independent company, and we're going to succeed without, I guess, riding the coattails of Joe Rogan. And so that's what we've been doing. And again, we've shown tremendous success even since we dropped the Rogan part. So yeah.
Anthony, you're muted.
Muted.
Jesus Christ, guys, I'm a goddamn professional. To circle it back to you know, the fighters and the plan and helping with the, you know, the healthcare expenses and the training camps and all of that stuff. Like, is there like, I mean, obviously that's what you guys want to do. You guys, that's been the message from the very beginning. But is there like how do you? I'm trying to think how to ask this question. Like, what is the actual plan? Like, if you were to step by step, what is the plan, and then what's that plan moving forward, and then what do you expect in return, if that makes any sense? Like, whether that's from obviously the UFC, that part of it's going to be tough, but whether there's other organizations, there's the fighters, the gyms, the managers, the coaches, like what does that look like? I think that clear line of communication and at least just saying it so they can say, no, this is what they expect and this is what their plan is. I think that's just putting that out there very clear in a conversational situation makes a difference.
Okay. Well, speaking on behalf of Marshall Inu, I think our biggest goal is that we want to be a staple within the MMA community. That is not only going to be through a variety of avenues, but the idea is that we want to be the token when people reference to MMA. Now, again, crypto is still evolving and there's a lot to be talked about and a lot to be learned. But for us to accomplish that, we're going to be able to achieve that through multiple avenues. One being currently a crypto academy that we're working on, not only to help educate fighters such as yourself, Anthony, like you were talking about earlier. A lot of fighters aren't fully aware or clear on how to trade, how to swap, how to even get involved and invest. And so we want to help, one, normalize crypto and provide them the educational materials for them to be able to learn and invest, as well as provide that to every other retail investor, like KJ was talking about as well. A lot of retail investment that come in, they aren't fully aware and they end up, unfortunately, buying the top. And we want to make it easier so that people have the educational resources to be able to learn from it and be able to freely do this, make an investment without having to question whether or not they made a good decision.
I mean, it's a damn shame that crypto.com is on every freaking shirt and none of the fighters know how to do anything with crypto, nor are getting any money from it.
That's fair.
So, you know, that's where Marshall comes in. And when you talk about retail, I mean, we were describing some high level, like degenerate shit that happens in crypto where you're kind of buying a contract as soon as it opens and hoping it's not a rug. But the true beauty of crypto is the fact that in America, you need a certain amount of money. We're talking millions of dollars, and you need to put an application to become an accredited investor. And then that way you're able to get seed round deals, equity deals. You get to get into IPOs earlier than retail people for a fraction of the cost. These are millionaires who are investing in something like, you know, Snapchat or whatever, any tech company, and they're getting in at fractions of a share of the cost of what a normal person is going to pay. And as soon as it gets listed on the stock market, you see a pump and then you see a dump, because the guys who invested, the accredited investors, have already done their 100x, and now they're just dumping on retail people. Meanwhile, these people are now paying people on NBC like Jim Cramer to tell you it's going to keep going up. And guess what? That's a scam. That's a scam. And the beauty of crypto is it allows every single person all over the world to make their own decisions and to get in on the ground floor if they want. I mean, it doesn't always work like that, because you also have the CDVCs in crypto as well that are getting in seed rounds. But with something like a meme coin, there is no seed round. It's like, hey, you launch the contract, do the research, take your risk, and you win or you lose. There's no one to blame but yourself.
That's true.
I
And
like
people
that.
put their money in the projects that they want to. Tesla is worth $1.2 trillion. It's a car company that sells however many cars a year. I mean, it's the same mechanism, man. It's like people like Elon, people like the company, and so they put their money behind it. It's like, and this is branded to fighters. You guys seem to be doing really good stuff, and seems
just to add on really quickly, now that you're talking about Tesla, it reminds me, I believe it was either 2020 or 2021, but Elon was accepting BTC, for example, in exchange for you to purchase a Tesla. And I think the biggest thing surrounding MRI is that we want to be able to offer that same ability when it comes to doing anything related with mixed martial arts. And so, for example, I know we're also partnering with promotions. Like we've worked out a deal to support LFA and a couple other smaller promotions. And again, like it's an ongoing process, but I think the idea is we're going to be a force within, just whenever people think of MMA, they're going to think of MRI and Marshall Inu. And that's the goal of this whole thing.
That's awesome. LFA is a fantastic company too. And honestly, like those are the guys that, I'm not saying that UFC fighters don't need it, but if you want to find a group of crazy, passionate, ground level, struggling, hungry fighters, the LFA is the place to find it. You know what I mean? Like those guys are, none of those guys have ever seen, I would say the vast majority of them have never seen $5,000 in their life, not at one time. So I mean, it's a life-changing. Look, I fought in the LFA like 3 fights before I got re-signed to the UFC. I made $2,000. Like it wasn't that long ago. So like that's just how this game is. And even the guys that are the quote unquote superstars, or the guys that have been around a long time, like I would imagine you guys would be shocked at how much money I don't make compared to what you probably think I do. You know what I mean? It's just that's just how it is, and that's the landscape and the sport that we're in right now. But I guess it's a perfect opportunity for me just to say, like, watching people that have never, like, offering people $10,000 at that UFC event. There was debuters that have never made $10,000 ever. You know, like there's, and some of them will lose, and by the time they pay their coaches, management, travel, like they're gonna make half of that. Like maybe their check says $10,000 or $12,000, but by the time it's taxed and then they pay everyone they got to pay, it's about a $5,000 check. Like, can you imagine feeling the loss of, your debut or your second fight in the UFC, and then you make $5,000, and then someone that you don't know that just cares about you because of what you do gives you $10,000? Sometimes it's more about the dollar amount and just knowing that someone is supporting you and that someone cares about you. So, it's easy to talk about the dollar amount that's gone out to fighters and stuff like that, but sometimes just feeling cared about and feeling supported and feeling, someone wants to do something just because they enjoy what you do. I think that matters. So I don't want that to go missed by you guys, and knowing that it does make a difference more than just
I didn't even thought
paying
about
bills.
that.
It means a lot to hear that, though, Anthony.
Yeah.
It really does. And
well, that's why I'm here. Like I've never been the money guy. I've never, I'm chasing titles. You know what I mean? That's what I'm doing. But I know what it felt like when a fucking shoe store in Nebraska City, Nebraska, gave me a $500 spending allowance at the shoe place. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't about the shoes. It was that someone in my hometown cared enough about my journey that they're like, here's a little bit of cash. Throw my logo on your shorts. They don't give a shit about that logo. There's no return on that investment. Like, they're not going to make that money back. But the fact that they cared meant a lot to me. Or anything. Someone throw you $1,000 when I was in Strike Force. Like, that was game changing to me. They're never going to get that back. But they cared, and that meant a lot.
means a lot to us. And
no, it does.
As I entered as a speculator, obviously I wanted to make money. I wanted to see the price go up. But the one thing that I said in the beginning was, as long as the fighters get this money, I feel like the mission is good, you know? Like, and up until now, they've done nothing but accomplish that mission, and I believe that they will continue to do so. So even if I were to lose all my money, of course I'd be fucking pissed, wouldn't be happy about it, but I would still like, it's like, hey, here's a feather in your cap. But no, like for real, knowing that we made a difference, you know, knowing that I was part of something that grew so rapidly to the point that I'm sitting here with Anthony Smith and Jesse on Fire and B Roots, and we're talking about this where this was just 6 weeks ago, didn't exist or whatnot. And, you know, Colby Covington is talking, you know, giving us a shout out at a pay-per-view that I'm sitting at, you know, it's really like the most amazing project I've ever been involved with in crypto since I started in 2017. I've never seen anything like this, and something that's so personal to me, being a huge MMA fan. I'm just extremely honored that I was able to help and that I could be part of this journey for you guys. Truthfully, like,
Yeah, and our
full.
team, yeah, we're a group of passionate, very passionate actually MMA fans. Like I myself do Muay Thai, and if I'm being honest, I frankly love it. But I don't have the heart or the dedication to do it at the level that you guys do. But I love watching you guys compete. And I think if anything, since we started this project, my passion for not only each and every athlete that performs in mixed martial arts, but everyone involved, it like I give you so much more respect just because of finally speaking to people. Like I've been having conversations with like Ian Heineck and Fabio Sharon, some of the sacrifices you guys have had to make throughout your career. Truly, truly incredible to see where you guys are at now, but to know what you guys had to go through prior. I give all the credit in the world to each and every one of you. And so honestly, I just commend yourself, Anthony, and each and every mixed martial art athlete out there. But yeah, we've done a lot and we want to continue to drive and deliver on that vision. So I guess thank you for just giving us that opportunity.
Well, no, man, I guess speaking on behalf of fighters, like we don't get a lot of help. You know what I mean? We don't get a lot of favors. It's a hard life. So any little bit that helps, I think you'll find that fighters are probably the most appreciative athletes that you'll probably ever meet, because of the things that we have to go through. Everybody's got a story. There's not too many guys in this game that don't have a sad sob story where they've been shit on and suffered. So I appreciate you guys. I really do. And I mean that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm probably one of the most skeptical people that has ever walked the face of the earth.
This is the same guy that thought that Colby and Masvidal was all the work the whole time.
I still do.
Jesus.
I still do. Yeah, I couldn't say why before. Now it's just right out there for everybody. But yeah, man, I mean, every step of the way. I mean, I did this because I'm also a father of 3 daughters. And the idea of somebody putting a hand on my kid and then me ending up in a cell is so it's, you know, I've done plenty of videos on it, that any way that I could contribute to his family struggle felt like a good thing. But then every time I've talked to you guys, every time we've done anything, I mean, I've had nothing but good experiences. And like I said, I don't fucking trust anybody, man. You guys have done a really good job with me for sure.
Well, again, thank you, Jesse, for just giving us the opportunity to be on here, to give us the platform to express not only our message, but to, again, continue to help a lot of the people who are involved with all of it, you know? So yeah, just kudos to you and thank you.
Thank you
yeah.
guys.
What do you guys like in 274 or 273 rather? Chimaev, Burns.
I like my
Sterling.
fucking seats front row. What's
I have a hard time, man, just going against Burns because we've seen so little of Chimaev. What I've heard though, like I heard horror stories about that guy before he was even in the UFC, of him like ragdolling Gustafsson and Ilir Latifi at the gym when he was like 18 years old. So
and what about
if
that? What about
if he's
that
half as
graphic?
good as if he's half as good as they say he is, like the war stories in the room that I've heard, like in the back, if he's half that good, he's a goddamn problem.
Yeah.
He's a
wow.
Passes
goddamn
the
problem.
eye test, you know.
He
Like
does.
that dude. He looks like
does.
he's just built different, you know. Like you can kind of see.
Well, he
it.
looks like a dude that spent a lot of time fucking up real good dudes in the gym too. Like the way he talks about people, like everything he's done in the octagon, he has no right talking the way that he talks. But it doesn't
Right.
sound fake. It's like he knows something that the rest of us don't know. So I don't like the fact that Burns is a little bit smaller and Chimaev is a massive welterweight. He's huge. So I think just size wise, I think Gilbert's going to have some problems, but if they can get in some grappling exchanges and Burns can get in some dominant positions, he'll give him a lot of problems. That dude's a monster on the ground. So
Stylistically, Burns is, in my eyes, the most dangerous guy in that division until you get to Kamaru.
Yeah, I agree.
Explosive on his feet.
I think he smokes everybody else. But the two real good grapplers, one more wrestling based than the other, but both have power in their hands and can defend takedowns well. And if they get on top, it's a problem. So I think those two guys, I think he smokes everybody else probably. Who's the main event? What is that one?
Volkanovski and Korean
Korean
Zombie.
Zombie and
And
that's
then
a
Jan
smash.
and-
That's a
Jan and
smash
Alchemy.
match.
Yeah.
Those are two smash matches, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not working that one, so I haven't looked at it too much. I'm working the one after that, but
I'll be at the one after that.
in
274.
Arizona.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
no
be at
shit.
that one, too.
I'll be in Phoenix. We should all get together.
Dude, I'm
Yeah.
doing an event on Friday night. You guys should all come. We're like, I mean, like literally we're making reservations right now. We're gonna have it's getting a lot fucking bigger than I expected since I'm paying for it. But yeah, you guys should all
That's how
come.
it works.
273 or
Hey, Bryce.
273 or 4.
Bryce, if you wear a
74.
mask, you can come too, dude. I won't say nothing.
I'll arrange for something on my end.
He'll just show up and then no one knows his name. It's just like,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah,
random
no
guy.
shit. He just show up and his name's like Michael or something.
His name's
Who's this
Rice.
Michael guy.
Rice. Yeah.